now live. We're waiting on Mr. Dunford to join us on the old connection. But as soon as we're ready, top of the hour, we'll get straight into today's show. Talking Con, a cup of tea with Englishman in San Diego. Thank you very much indeed to everybody who has liked and subscribed and hit the bell on the old YouTube channel. That means if you're watching this live, that means you've got that notification and you're joining us. Each and every week, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. We are talking conventions and Comic-Cons with some of the brightest and best, including Matt Dunford, who you just kind of saw a glimpse of there.
Oh, really? Just a glimpse of him? Oh, my
just
God.
Just a glimpse, because we're doing the countdown first. But
Okay.
yeah, as always, if you are a subscriber on the YouTube channel, you got the notification. And also, if you hit notifications on the Twitter account or on Periscope, you know that we're now live. And as always, if there's any comments, questions you have, jump in. We got Into the Blue Mister. You're saying, afternoon, folks. Hello there. And we've got Dan Berry. Hey, it's that Matt Dunford.
Is it Matt Dunford? Okay, I barely recognize him with his skanky-ass hobo beard.
Excuse me. I am also growing some facial fungus, which I really should sort something out with. But yes, I understand that it's the new year. We're still kind of struggling to get into some kind of effort. I appreciate that. Toby Tolino is watching as morning from San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And also Super Catching as well. Super. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to you. As always, if you are a subscriber to the Patreon page as well, thank you very much indeed for all of your support. As always, it allows us to keep the lights on and keep doing what we do. So please do keep supporting us the best you can, because it allows us to do stuff with. I mean, I know that we've recently paid out for our Flickr account. So we've got all the photos that we get at various conventions, and yeah, they've gone up. So that's gone out. What else we had? I think we've had hosting go out this week as well. So yeah, it's the new year. All the bills need to be paid. So thank you very much indeed. It really is a case of every penny goes towards what we do. So thank you very much indeed for all your support on Patreon. Again, we are talking to Matt Dunford. We're also going to be talking about all the things that are coming up in 2020. We did our look back with Mark Serby last week. We could do a little bit of a look forward as well. Some great cons and some great events coming up this year. So please do jump in with the comments. Let us know if there's anything you want to talk about, and we'll do what we can to cover that today. But yeah, that's our show. Have you got your hair sorted out? Is your stylist out of shot now?
Usually it's like I'm always rushing to get my hair perfect at the very last moment. And like, I mean, 2 years ago, you remember I still had wet hair because I had a pretty wild night. And then last year I had a pretty wild night always before coming on. So I'm always coming on, not getting sleep. And then I was invited out to, like, last night and say, hey, Matt, do you want to come hang out with us? We got some big plans. No, I'm going to probably stay inside, watch cartoons, and actually get a good night's sleep so I can actually be on time for this. So it's usually like me, barely ready. And, of course, I think everything works perfect. And then, of course, my coffee machine spilled over, and so that's a mess I'm going to have to clean up later. But, okay. Anyway. So
you see, it's all about drama. But that's what we love about you, Matt.
Yes, so it's like only one thing went wrong is that I can't have my cup of coffee as I sip it in this morning. But you know what? Who else? I'm jazzed and energetic, and I'm here for it because
I have my cup of tea. So
okay,
I'm ready to go. Yeah, we've got a load of people that are jumping in already on the chat box. We've got loads of people that are jumping in on Twitter as well. Hello there, Twitter people, and thank you very much indeed for joining us on all of the social medias. Any comments, questions? We're on Twitch, we're on Periscope, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook as well. Anywhere that you want to watch us, anywhere you want to comment, do let us know, and I'll keep a track on as many comments as we can, and any questions that we've got coming in as well. First and foremost, welcome along to Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name's Leonard Sultana, and each and every week we talk Comic-Cons, con culture, and all the stuff and nonsense that is leading up to it. We will not be talking about Golden Globes because for some strange reason, it's not going in there this year. I seem to ignore the fact that it's happening until I see someone referring that the Golden Globes are happening. So
yeah, it's just kind of the award show you don't really care about, except while it's on, and then just like, you know, the celebrities are there at their round tables, and they're like looking up, am I going to get this award that only kind of matters until the Oscars 2 weeks from now, and then it's just kind of just forgotten through, and then Ricky Gervais just gets, you know, he offends everyone and stuff. It's like, oh my God, Ricky Gervais made an offensive joke. I'm like, that's why you bring him there, to actually make it seemed like this show actually is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there was a tweet that was put out by the Golden Globes, which was the top 10 offensive or top 10 outrageous moments at the Golden Globes. And he was only in there like once. And you're thinking to yourself, no, he's opened his mouth and said a couple of things more than once. I mean, admittedly, I felt it was a completely irrelevant top 10, considering that they didn't have the moment that they had Amy Poehler and Tina Fey roasting James Cameron on the Zero Dark 30 speech. That was my favorite moment of the Golden Globes. I loved that. I loved it. But there we go. So, I mean, we may talk Golden Globes a little bit later, but it's all about our special guest, Matt Dunford. Welcome along, sir. Happy New Year to you, sir.
And Happy New Year to you, too. I'm so happy to be on board.
How was your festive season? How was your Christmas?
Christmas was nice. You did the usual thing of hanging out with the family and watching Love Actually while drinking eggnog.
Right.
Love Actually is the greatest Christmas movie of all time, and I will fight anyone who says, okay, yeah, well, really, Die Hard fans, you want to come at me?
No. I'd say The Holiday, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I mean, variety is the spice of life. If we all liked the same things, I'd have a better comic book collection, and I don't know what my life could possibly bring to yours. But listen, it's great to hear that you had a great time. I think first and foremost, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, who's watching this, introduce yourself, sir. Who is Matt Dunford?
I'm Matt Dunford. I am a guy who's done many things. Let's see. In my day, I've been called the world's youngest comic book historian, but that's starting to, as I get old, that title is starting to get old, so it doesn't really matter to me much anymore. But yeah, I have been board president of Little Fish Comic Book Studio, San Diego's comic education institute, and I did that for 5 years before reaching my term limits. That's a funny way to say impeached. And I currently serve for my 9-to-5 job. I serve as the PR and marketing director of Critivo, which is a video game publisher based here in San Diego, makers of the Universe Sim and Prehistoric Kingdom, Sayri Adventure, and a number of video games. And I've been having a lot of fun with that. But my favorite thing that I get to do is I get to be the chairman of a lovely little convention called San Diego Comic Fest, which is coming up in 2 months from March 5th through the 8th, and it's going to be a very good time. This year we are celebrating the centennial of Ray Bradbury and Ray Harryhausen, and our guest of honor is none other than Minister Bill Sienkiewicz. Our science fiction guest of honor is J. Michael Straczynski. Yes, I picked the guests of honors with the hard-to-pronounce last names. We also have other wonderful guests coming on board, such as Wendy and Richard Peeney of ElfQuest, Liam Sharp, you might know from Wonder Woman and Green Lantern.
Good friend.
Coming on board. Yeah, Liam is great. And Marv Wolfman is coming. And so for those Teen Titans fans, Tomb of Dracula fans, Blade the Vampire Hunter fans, just make sure you get jazzed about that. Also, because I do like keeping things on the comic book historical side, we have a very good friend of ours coming to the show this year, a guy named Mark Ditko, who is the nephew of Steve Ditko, who actually is the historical archivist of the Steve Ditko artwork and historical collection. So you're going to see some very, very interesting stuff that has never been seen before, and heard some stuff you've never heard before. So it's going to be very cool.
It sounds like it's going to be I mean, it was going to be cool from the moment you start announcing your first guests. And I mean, this happened back in October. I think it was something like that. You started announcing relatively early for your guests. I mean, your San Diego Comic Fest, what I love about the show is it doesn't hide its light under a bushel. It doesn't go, okay, we have to be really kind of like strategic. We don't have to be, we're going to go out there and we're going to do what we do. We're not
you were at my JMS signing too? That was fun. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very much a case of everyone else can do what they do. Everyone else can be their own con. Everyone else can do we're going to do what we do. We're just going to be our own thing. And I think that's really refreshing instead of kind of playing politics with the whole convention landscape. You just go out and put on a great show. And I think that's the really refreshing thing, especially when you see people's reactions when they go to San Diego Comic Fest. I think that's really refreshing.
Yeah, from just pretty much universally across the board, it's just people have a great, wonderful time. They love the programming. They just love the guest list. And so it's like, I'm really, really enjoying things. And I really love doing this because as a kid, it was just always I just always thought it's like, wouldn't it be cool to have your own convention, to be able to like bring in all the coolest comic guests around and just like shake things up. And so it's a varied guest list each year. We do have our fan favorites who are always going to be welcome at the show. People like Scott Shaw, Buzz Dixon, John Semper, who are just, great guys all across the board who have had, great careers across comics, films, animation, and science fiction. But the important thing is just shake things up, and so it's a very diverse offering and a different theme each year. And so that way, I don't want to point fingers at other conventions, but there's a lot of conventions out there that just tend to stagnate. They kind of just do the same thing over and over again. And so catering around a theme creates a new, exciting, diverse guest list and a new diverse programming. So it's just not doing the same thing over and over again. Yes, we'll have our fan favorite things that we'd like to see at conventions, but it is important to just, to innovate and to do things different. So our themes that we've done, like this year, it's like the centennial of Bradbury and Harryhausen. Last year, it was the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. And now I personally would have picked that, but that's the one the committee chose. But the thing is, I was wrong. And I thought that actually ended up being a very good theme because it allowed us to explore the history of science fiction throughout the 60s and 70s, and how it just allowed us to explore the space age. And it just allowed us to have programs from everything from Star Trek to the Jetsons and everything in between that was actually influenced by the moon landing and America's exploration for outer space. And we had a very opportune guest that really worked well on things. Mr. Sergio Aragones, the world's greatest living cartoonist, was our guest of honor last year. And his actual first cartoon that he did at Mad Magazine was a mad look at the space program. So it actually, fit in really well. And our set designer for the cafe area did an homage to that. He drew actually Sergio's Spaceman from that classic 1962 cartoon, and Sergio was just actually blown away when he saw that in its full glory.
That's cool. The guest of honor has always been fun, and like you say, the themes have always been exciting and different. But I think what I've also been interested to see is how the show has evolved and grown from its initial starts, and also when you took over as chairman, you started introducing these exciting things to galvanize the Comic Fest. What has been the biggest shakeup that you have seen in the organization and in the convention that's really been the biggest plus and the biggest positive for the show?
One thing I really do think that is good is when I came in for this, I really just felt it was a great opportunity for me to create a unity and just something that brings together the comic book community of San Diego. I think
which is immense. It's a wonderful, huge town, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. And I love everything in this town. People always say it's like San Diego has no comic book culture. I beg to differ. This city has the best comic book culture on the planet. And if you think it just dries up when San Diego Comic Con leaves, you are absolutely wrong. There are comic stores and comic events in this town every single day. And of course, if you keep up with, my attention whoring life online, it's like you see that I go to all of them because I cannot tear myself away from all of them. In fact, I've got another 2 more that I'm going to bolt to after I wrap up this lecture today. So it's like I've got to get out to do other events, and then I may hit another comic store afterwards. But it's great that you see a community of, first off, you have the retail stores, which are the backbone of this entire industry. And so we have wonderful stores here in the San Diego area. Of course, we have the heavy hitter ones like Southern California Comics, that's operated by Jamie Newbold. We've got the new guys in town, Now or Never Comics in the downtown area, operated by Aaron Trites. We got up in North County covering areas with Nowhere Games and Comics with Matthias Lewis.
And then we have over in the Oceanside area, the coastal, coffee shop and comic store Panels that's operated by Tio and Aries Livranos, the two brothers, and it's just a wonderful comic and coffee shop right by the beach. And then, of course, you have the franchise locations like Comics and stuff and Kamikazes all over. And so it's great that these comic stores keep things alive. And of course, they allow fans to cultivate things, and they allow things to evolve. But we also have a thriving area of creators and aspiring creators. And so spots like Little Fish Comic Book Studio really promote the new next generation of talent that are going to be getting into comics. And of course, maybe they get into comics, maybe they get into video games, maybe they get into films. And so it allows them to just get a start to learn sequential storytelling. But for me, I have, like it's often been said, that Matt Dunford could go into a party and end up best friends with the trees in there. And so if you're into comics, like, we will immediately become best friends. With me, it's, you have two options. I'm your best friend or your worst nightmare. And of course, you don't want to be one of the 3 or 4 people on my S list. So, like,
yeah, but when people are on your S list, it's mostly because
they really
you have been talking to them and you've been talking their ear off. That's all you've been doing.
I really try to be everyone's best friend. It's like, you have to really, 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 really work at that to get me to not like you.
Yeah, I so appreciate that. I mean, we've been putting a couple of comments up on already. Harryhausen and Bradbury were lifelong friends. It's really nice that you're celebrating both titans of sci-fi and fantasy. That's Into the Blue Mister. And also, Toby, seen John Michael Straczynski at Mysterious Galaxy Bookstore recent, promoting his autobiography. No doubt that's going to be something that's going to be mentioned large and prominent at the Comic Fest.
Yep.
And you do have Super Catchick. I really want to get to this con. Sounds like great programming. The programming for me is what really does make the Comic Fest stand above most conventions out there, because you really do take a great deal of time to put some really interesting programming out there. The animation programming that you've done in recent years has just been stellar. Some of the legacy ones as well. Some of your the highlights panels have been fantastic. When does that start getting put together? Obviously, you've got your guest list, which is starting to come together, but you are wanting to obviously curate that really strong programming track. When does that start coming together for you?
Well, thing is, I've already assembled pretty much it's a collaborative effort on things, because, like, I can't take credit for the science fiction programming because I'm not a science fiction guy. I admit that I'm a comic book guy, I'm a cartoon guy, but the science fiction aspect is like, if you want to talk Bradbury with me, it's like, I openly admit I've never read a Ray Bradbury story in my life. I can't fake it. Hold on, let me do another big shocker reveal on the science fiction era. J. Michael Straczynski is my favorite writer. I've never watched an episode of Babylon 5.
Okay.
Comic book stuff. I know all his comic stuff, but it's like I just haven't really delved that much into it. And I mean, if you look at my collection, this is my DC shelf right there. There's my some Dark Horse stuff. There's some independent books. There's my IDW shelf. I mean, I've got another like 4 bookshelves in my bedroom with my Marvel stuff, and it's like, as you can tell, I'm a cultivator, and there's only so many hours in the day for you to, assimilate all this stuff. And when I was in my prime, I was probably reading about 15 comics a day. And it's like, I just don't slow down. And I always keep like a guest list. I mean, like, look, here's my freaking haul from like just comic shopping yesterday. I got the new X-Men, like Powers of X hardcover. I've just got to get caught up on Immortal Hulk. I've, finally got the Donny Cates Spore, and of course the new Joe Hill IDW book. And then just like, it's like within an arm's reach, you can find about 500 comics just everywhere. It's like, there's the new Headlopper. It's like, it's like Ed Piskor books I still got to get caught up on. It's like, I mean, it's just like all just around my house, there are comics everywhere. And the thing with me is like, I love talking about it. And if you go to a convention, you should love hearing people talk about it. And of course, the thing is, you should also hear the people who created it talk about it. So when we do programming, of course, Mike Towery, who's the president of Comic Fest, and he's the original founder of San Diego Comic Con as well, he covers a lot of the science fiction stuff. And he comes to me with some programming, and I'm just like, this is A-grade stuff. It's like, I would want to go to all of it. And then, of course, I get to play fanboy, and I get to come up with programming of my own. And so I get to come up with some really cool programming ideas. I've come up with about roughly 50 panels of my own. And so right now, the thing that I have to do is just reach out to the special guests to make sure that they are okay with these panels. Would you like to contribute anything else? You got any friends that want to come on board, and what any adjustments that you can do with, and just want to make sure that things are done right. It's like, do you want to collaborate with people? Are there certain other creators on board that you tend to rub elbows with and would not like to be stepped on and put on with? Like, fortunately, we haven't had any of that. We had a guest last year who a lot of people said they didn't really want to. It's like, give them a chance, give them a chance. You had your chance.
Yeah. We'll skirt over that. I think that's been discussed way. It's been done. It's been done as that. I mean, the great thing as well about the guests that you've got so far, and like you say, the ones you've been talking about, Straczynski, the Pennies. I mean, we're talking people who can not only talk at length, but also have plenty of stuff to talk about, and are really interesting to hear when they do talk. Sienkiewicz is just an amazing guest. He will just talk your ear off, and he's just got plenty of stuff to talk about. So you've got all these programming tracks, which I'm really excited to. Hopefully, we'll get some more footage out of those panels, because it's always been great to see the panels when they've gone online, so people can see them who haven't been able to go to the Comic Fest.
Comment in the corner, Matt Book Will Stout. He is a big Harryhausen fan. Bill Stout has been a San Diego Comic Fest guest since the very first San Diego Comic Fest. In fact, he is always the first guy to sign up as a guest for San Diego Comic Fest, because he says it's his favorite convention to hang at.
I can appreciate that.
Absolutely wonderful guy.
I mean, it's a gorgeous place to kind of go and visit as well, because it's not the the shabbiest location in the world as well that you've chosen. But obviously, like you say, as the word spreads and as people have found and discovered Comic Fest, it has grown and it has developed. How has that been as a challenge as it's got itself the bigger and bigger audience?
As we cultivate the bigger audience, it does become, kind of like a double-edged sword, because the whole thing about the convention was it was meant to be the small and intimate convention experience. And as we grow, it gets a little bigger. And so that kind of makes us worried. Like, do we have to get a bigger venue? It's like, are we going to become a bigger con? Or are we going to just dedicate ourselves to the small level? I think the focus is we do try to keep ourselves cultivated at the smaller convention experience. And that's the goal of the convention. If you want a bigger convention experience, go check out San Diego Comic Con, because that's one catered to 100,000 people. And they do a great job with that number of people. It's like, we operate a convention at 1% the scale that they do. And it's a handful to do a convention and make it go right. So I have the utmost respect for all them, for everything they do, and they make it go so well, and it just goes off without a hitch every single year. And so the Comic-Con people have my utmost respect. And of course, a lot of the folks from San Diego Comic-Con even come to San Diego Comic Fest, and they start giving us praise for what they do. It's like, oh wow, it's like getting the praise from Caesar. I can't believe it. I just love comics, and I just love sharing and talking about comic book stuff with people, and I just love it. And I love all just the fact that it's like I get to bring in these giants of the industry. Sure. And I've seen the convention move from when it was a smaller experience. And when the convention started in 2012, it started the initial guest of honor was actually Murphy Anderson, the artist of Justice League. And wow, it's like there's a just giant, a guy who helped usher in the Silver Age was there. And then you get to see the convention take its baby steps and learn to crawl. And then it's like, I saw a lot of potential in the convention when I was volunteering with it. So it's like, let me help this get up and running. And so I kind of figured out the formula for how guests should be, because I found there would be some YouTubers and fan film stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't really fit the theme of what we're going for here. And I think that's just it just didn't reach it. And so I just said, okay, let me help out with some guests. And I think the guest that really brought things into the fray and he was the perfect guest to invite, was my good pal, John Semper, who, of course, if you know me, I'm a huge fan of the Spider-Man animated series. And of course, I brought
really? I wouldn't have heard about that.
Oh yeah. It's like, I wouldn't have guessed. But the fact is, I felt he was the guest that had the perfect balance, because it's, you know, some people are saying, oh, like, you know, San Diego Comic Fest is just something for old guys. No, it's just, it's got something for everyone. So I like bringing in guests with an established past, but we're still working on stuff, on contemporary stuff. So like Semper, of course, here was a guy who'd been working in animation since the late 70s. You know, he worked with Vincent Price, he worked with George Lucas, he worked with Stan Lee, he worked with Jim Henson. So he has all those stories to tell for the older crowd and all those, you know, and helping to like stand on the backs of giants, but he's still working on contemporary cartoons. And then, you know, people of my generation growing up with Spider-Man and Fraggle Rock and all that cool stuff there, it's like, it's something that appeals to us too. So the, you know, the millennial generation, but he's still actively working on stuff for kids. And so, and it's great when you see him interacting with other people on board that are, you know, just have been around the block a while. So it's like our first year with John Semper. It's like we put him on a panel with Mr. Floyd Norman, who spent a decade working with Walt Disney. And of course, Floyd is a special guest at Comic Fest again. And so like, it's just really, it's really wonderful to see all these guys mix and match. And so you get to all these guests like, okay, time to make panels. How can I match up this guy with this guy, this guy, and make them talk about something really cool? And so it's just, I always just want to make it really cool. And I want to make it something that I would really want to hear, because I mean, I'm hard to please. And if I think it's cool, then I'm guessing probably everyone else thinks it's cool.
I mean, the other thing about Comic Fest is, like I say, it's getting itself, or it has got itself, a great reputation of being a friendly, intimate convention, and the timing as well of when you host it as well. It's at the beginning of the year still, and everyone, it's not that busy a convention window, which means there's still plenty of people available if you want to kind of pick and choose your guests. Now, the question I'd like to ask is where you are with Comic Fest now. Are you at the period where people are actually coming to you to be a special guest or to be invited to Comic Fest, or are you still actively having to go out and weed through and find the guests for your show?
The thing is, like, I think our guest list as of this point, it is pretty solid. We may have a couple extra additions along the way, but I think it's just like in terms of programming and all the people and the talent that we've brought in, I think it's actually still really solid. I mean, we had a massive guest list last year, as you could see. It's like people were coming from India, people were coming from South Africa, people were coming from halfway across the country to just hang out with these things. And that's the great thing that I want, is that at the start of the convention, you look up to these people as heroes, but by the end of it, you call them friend. You have the opportunity to just hang out with them, and it's just so cool. And there are certain people that are coming to me. It's like I've had certain people email me, and it's like, I would really, 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 really like to have that guy, but it's like not really in the budget for us this year. It's a little late in the game to fly someone up from London, but it's like, especially when these people are like guest of honor material, and like it's hard to decline, but it's like, I sadly had to pass off on an industry giant who reached out to me. This guy sent me an email. I never thought I would talk to this person in my life, and here I am, like,
trading emails backwards and forwards.
Yeah, sometimes I just cannot believe the kind of stuff that I'm doing these days. It's like, you know, last year it's like, oh, Sergio's calling me. Hey, Sergio, hola, amigo. It's like, is everything ready for my panel? You have a room? Oh, yes, sir. It's like, oh, wonderful. You're so nice to me. Hey, would it be too late to have Stan Sakai and Tom Luth on the panel with? Oh, no, I'll have them on with you.
It's very difficult to say no to someone like Sergio Aragones, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then of course, like, it's just for like, just to me, like, it's like I just still consider myself the fly on the wall, and here I am just with industry giants, people whose books I've grown up reading and I'm such a huge fan of. And I just can't and I've been so thankful for this opportunity, and I love meeting all the people. I love putting this together, and it's been so great with the dealers hall. We have so many great dealers come out to sell cool stuff during the show, and then we have a wonderful flourishing artist alley. And this year we've also expanded into a small press area, which is going to be operated by a local writer named Travis Rivas, who's part of the group The Accidental Aliens. And of course, nobody hustles harder for self-published books in this town than Travis does. And so I give him great credit for for helping oversee things, and it like filled up like in a flash. And so now that we have an area to differentiate between, because our artist alley, it's like the criteria was you need to be able to create art on site. And so that kind of just like rubbed some of the writers the wrong way, but it's like some space concerns, but we have more space now. And now, so we can cultivate something for the writers, because I know how hard it is to really just come from that background. Because I did come from a small press creative background when I was working at Semantic Publishing. So I was at the tables up in San Jose at Small Press Expo back 10 years ago, making independent comics and stuff. And so now, and it's really cool when all those guys actually are from 10 years ago. It's like, hey, it's like, I'm working in comics now too. Can I get a table at your convention? Like, you blew up too? Nice.
Well, I mean, it's great to see. It's great to see that you really kind of cultivate also the local stores and publishers involved, and it really is San Diego Comic Fest. That's what is also a lot of people find very appealing about the show.
Yeah, but in terms of local publishers, and like I'm always happy to bring IDW back on board with Chris Ryle. He's also a wonderful guest. He's got the upgrade last year to president, publisher, and chief creative officer at IDW, and I couldn't think of a better guy on this planet for that role. And I'm really loving what IDW has been doing lately with just in terms of all the books coming out, and I'm really looking forward to the Lock and Key adaptation that's going to be hitting off soon. And like it's so great that IDW has come so far. They're still doing so well, and I mean, I can't get enough IDW books. I'm loving
I would give Chris Ryle the lion's share of credit for that as well, because top guy. When I do get the chance to talk to him, he's so down to earth. He's very much. I mean, there's two people who I consider staggeringly passionate about comics. They are the ones that it's in their absolute blood, and it's you and it's Chris. And I find that really inspiring. But like I say, we're talking about the local infrastructure and the local San Diego element. So we've got a couple of questions that are coming in. We've got ourselves a question from Sir Lister of Smeg. Are you ever worried that while you grow, Comic Fest might lose what it is that some might say San Diego Comic-Con has?
Well, let me come to the defense of San Diego Comic-Con. I don't think they've ever lost what they have. I think they just get better every single year. I've been going for 25 years. I've been going for 26 now. It's like I've been going to San Diego Comic-Con since 1994. That event has never lost its charm to me. And the simple fact is, and of course I realize I say simple fact a lot, I think that San Diego Comic-Con has just grown to offer more and cultivate more an experience for everyone. Now, when you look back at the origin of San Diego Comic-Con, people say, "Oh, it's like Comic-Con these days is all about Hollywood." Beg to differ.
They've been there from the start.
When the group of kids organizing the first San Diego Comic-Con went up to go to hang out with Jack Kirby, they said, "Well, should we just make it about comics?" Jack said, "No, you should also include film and science fiction." So for people who say film has no place at San Diego Comic-Con, guess what? It's been there from the start.
Agreed.
And it's just, the whole thing is Comic-Con offers whatever you want. You should never be bored at San Diego Comic-Con. Never. If you want to do comics, guess what? There's comic stuff for you. If you want to do movies, guess what? There's movie stuff for you. If you want to do video games, there's video game stuff for you. If you want to battle in medieval armor or play trading card games, guess what? It's all there. There is something for everyone at San Diego Comic-Con. And so
let me put this to you then. Do you think that they maybe have overreached with the museum?
No, I think the museum is actually a great idea. I think it's. I'm actually a very big supporter of the Comic-Con museum, and I even got my I got my tote bag too. I got my tote bag. That's how you're a supporter. So you got to pay it. So that's the official deal. So anyway, I don't think they're overreaching with the museum. I think that it is something that's really cool, and I was really enjoying. It's it's still got its. The museum, of course, over the past 2 years has kind of just been like a skeleton because they still have to do some renovation work and stuff like that. And so they were getting off to a good start. And of course, they had museum director Adam Smith there for a while. Adam Smith did some really cool programming. He did a lot of experimental stuff and brought in some really cool operations and programming and city exhibits that would rotate for a month in and month out. And I thought he did a really good job. And of course, I know he's parted ways with the museum, but I think San Diego Comic Con is perfectly capable of doing it on their own. I mean, they run the most prolific convention on the planet. So for them to say that they couldn't hold it down, it's like, I mean, I don't think it was kind of, it's like, I mean, I wish Adam well. He's a wonderful guy, and I love the guys at San Diego Comic Con. I'm not sure what caused the parting of these ways, and I just wish everyone well. But I think the museum is a great thing for the community of San Diego. And I mean, I go to all the events, and I still love really what's going on. I'm looking forward to their Star Trek exhibit that's coming up. I'm not a big Trek fan, but I always like going to these exhibits and learning something new.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to coming back to San Diego. I want to check that space out because all I got to see of it before was from behind a tarpaulin, from the just in the opening entrance, just seeing the potential of that space. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing with it at the moment. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely a space with potential. I'm curious to see how the convention itself is going to change its programming and how it's going to evolve with Adam not there. I think that's an interesting question. We've also got a question from Super Cat Chick. Hello there, joining us. Speaking of old guys, a friend of mine is programming a local sci-fi fantasy con that's mostly literary and having a hard time getting them to embrace comic content. Any tips? Whoa, big question.
Big question, because like I said, it's like sometimes there is that overlap between science fiction and comics, but you're either hardcore into one or hardcore into the other. And so it does really create that kind of divide. I would say the best way to do that is to cultivate guests for who have actually reached across the board. Like with San Diego Comic Fest, I thought Straczynski was the perfect guest because here he is, a guy who has written for film, science fiction, comics, animation. He covers everything that we want to talk about. And so when you're fortunate enough to have a guy like that who has actually done both comics and science fiction, it does bring things in. So there's a little bit of something for the comic book guys, and there's a little bit of something for the cartoon guys, and so something for everyone. And so it's just, where have they crossed the line and reached into different areas that you can bring fans in? And it's always important in your advertising, just, remind people, what these people do. It's like, you could say, make an announcement, welcome science fiction guest of honor, J. Michael Straczynski. Or you could say, his work from Babylon 5, his comics like Amazing Spider-Man, it from The Mighty Thor, Rising Stars, Sense8. Please welcome science fiction guest of honor, J. Michael Straczynski. Excite them, invigorate them, bring them in, make them want to share their passion and meet the people that created this stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's a good question. But if anything, because we are seeing many conventions kind of steering to multiple disciplines, and the comics are getting a little bit sidelined. Maybe that's because it's something happening in the industry as well, that the industry itself is not knowing how to break out of its own bubble, as it were. It seems it's struggling to get into those inroads. I think it could learn a lot from the programming like Comic Fest and, like you've just said there, of actually recognizing those tentacles that reach out to a different medium. And it all kind of wanders around. It's really cool. We were talking with Matt Serby last week.
What's that?
And we were talking about the wrap-up show we did in 2018, 2019, when the pair of us, and we had some other guests on as well, we were just feeling really down about the convention landscape. It felt a little bit mercenary. We felt that there was possibly the bubble, the balloon going up. We felt that there was a real shadow over the convention landscape. We did our recap show and looking back at 2019 last week, and we both came out of it really buoyed and really kind of optimistic about what 2020 could bring, because it did seem that there was a lot of chaff that had been sorted away, that some of even the bigger conventions were starting to recognize what they needed to do to make the experience more exciting for guests. How's your own personal feeling on the convention landscape at the moment? Certainly in North America and in California, on the West Coast as well. What's the vibe at the moment for the conventions in the States at the moment? Is there that same kind of positivity?
Well, I mean, I still am positive about my convention experience, but I mean, you would see me as a guy who is at every single convention ever. Because, I mean, I would literally be at a convention every single weekend, because it's often been said that if you're doing a geeky event and if Matt Dunford isn't there, then it's not worth going to. So, with that being said, I really, I do think the bubble has burst on some conventions where it's just, I mean, there've been a lot of conventions that have faded away around here. And I mean, there's still ones that are still going. It's like, I would like to see them shake things up. There's ones I really do like. I mean, I'm planning to go to Anime Los Angeles on this Saturday. That's one's always a very good, ALA is always a very solid show. I like just going up there for a day and hanging out on some stuff. I wish I could make it to Long Beach on the Sunday, but that one's always just like, it sucks when conventions are stacked on the same weekend and you can't really make it out to all of them. Pasadena Comic Con is coming up the weekend after that. And of course, they've got a wonderful guest of honor, Sergio Aragones. So he's it's like, I wonder where they got that idea. But no, I love Pasadena Comic Con. That's operated by Scott Zillner, who does like Power Morphicon and TALKIN Con, which is another one he did. He did an animation-centric one. And so that one's a good one-day show. And I always recommend going up to those shows because it's always a blast to go up to the Pasadena show just for a single day. He's got a wonderful guest list. So I highly recommend checking it out. And other shows around here that are still going strong. I mean, like WonderCon is still going really strong. Of course, San Diego Comic-Con's little brother. So it's just always go to that, and I always have a
growing. Even I'd even say that's growing to a highly impressive scale. WonderCon is not just the baby brother anymore, is it? It's
like I just call WonderCon the perfect medium-sized convention. The guys at San Diego Comic-Con have really outdone themselves, and it's a great environment because it's in Anaheim. It's a city that's, it's all hotels, and so it's like you're not going to have a hard time finding a spot to stay at. So just because they have 6 billion hotels within range of things, and maybe if you're not having a good time at WonderCon, they'll just pop over to Disneyland. But I really like there's also other niche conventions that I like going to. Monsterpalooza is always a lot of fun one. So I'm not the biggest horror guy in the world, but I do like seeing all the special effects and like all the monster designs from bad movies. And you're like, this movie was bad, but this monster is awesome.
I mean, okay, so what's been the thing that you feel that the conventions that have folded didn't do right? What do you feel that they didn't? What was the ingredient that they were missing?
Some conventions were making themselves too expensive. Some conventions were kind of just being a very obvious cash grab. You could tell the heart wasn't in it. It's like, I feel like they're kind of just like doing like celebrity autograph stuff and not taking that programming and creative niche that really brings things in. I know it's like there's certain conventions that people would go to that they'd be really excited about, and then they'd come back for a day. It's like, oh no, it kind of just overpromised and underdelivered. And so if anything, when making a convention, you want to overdeliver. You want to provide an experience where everyone is having an awesome time every single moment of the day. And I mean, I feel like some conventions try to make themselves too big too early. So, I mean, don't be just like, I would say, like, just take the small space initially and then just grow with it. That, Rome wasn't built in a day. San Diego Comic Con started off in the basement of the US Grand Hotel. It's a pretty intimate spot. It had 300 people in the first one. It did not grow into 125,000 overnight. That took decades to happen. So there's a lot of shows that, they just do like try to start too big, they overspend, and then you don't see them for a year too. So just know your limits and don't be afraid to grow. I mean, if you want to like try to, again, it's like, you can do a biannual show. So it's like, there's like shows like Long Beach Comic Con, which, do twice a year. So you can get, if you didn't make the first one, maybe you could make the expo and that sort of thing. So it's like, there's a good reason to cultivate and whatnot.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because San Diego Comic Fest has got itself a strong, loyal, enthusiastic fan base. Is it a show, and is it at a level yet which you feel that perhaps you could do a end of summer show or an end of year show, a Comic Fest Part 2?
you know, I would love to. It would be so awesome to do, but it's like it's such a handful to just get all this stuff going. And so like you have to think about the significance of the show. If you're doing it multiple times a year, then it kind of loses its significance where people say, I can just go to the next one. I can go to the next one. So you want to drive that immediacy and make it a unique experience. And 6 months between shows isn't always time. It's 6 months isn't always the time frame that you want to build a show and to build a hype. And sometimes you can't get the guest list you want in that sort of time. So like with me, it's like at San Diego Comic Con, it's like this was a rough year for me because like I literally did not have a guest of honor to put on my on the flyers at our booth. It's like, you know, we had Straczynski, we had Wendy and Richard Pini, and we had Liam Sharp, which is an impressive guest list to put on a flyer and a poster stuff. But it's like we didn't say who the guest of honor was. We just put some heavy hitters on there. And so, because I was having some trouble reaching out to Bill Sienkiewicz. And so, like that first day of Comic Con, I went down there and I dropped the invitation to him. Unfortunately, Barbara Kiesel was there, and she's like, Bill, seriously, this was a wonderful show. You have to go. It's great. I had the best time on earth. It's like, you have to check it out. It's wonderful. And Barbara's enthusiasm is always so great and so enthusiastic. And Bill Sienkiewicz is like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. It's like guest of honor. Wow, I just got an art god to be the guest of honor for this. And
I'm a fan. I'm looking forward to seeing that panel. Hopefully, Dan Berry's going. Hopefully, he's going to be filming it. I want to see that panel because he's just always a blast to hear talk. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with. Some more comments that are coming in. You've got Supercat Chick. Never went, but always got a bad vibe from the Wizard World cons. I suspect that was relating back to what you're saying about the cash grab. They're still running. They're still going. They're so. Yeah, absolutely. And then Sir Lister of Smeg. Now, this one's interesting, and I'm curious to see what you come up with this, because the Artist Alley has always been incredibly strong at Comic Fest. Part of all cons, I don't think has enough buzz around it, is Artist Alley. Can you talk a little bit about yours, and who are some up-and-comers that you're excited about?
It's just, an Artist Alley, I think we have about 60 people that have filled up. And Artist Alley, we like to keep it cheap. So it's only like, we put like a $25 price tag on it. And people are like, what? It's like other places are charging like $250. It's like, I mean, we would do it for free, but, you know, we've had free signups before, and that we want something that solidifies a commitment. But, you know, it's like we do want to make it cheap and accessible. We don't want to rob artists blind. We want to just make sure that they have an experience. And so it's like, I want that they can, you know, make their table back and that they can make a profit, because I know how hard it is to struggle to be a creator, and we don't want to impact these people. We want to be supporters of the artistic community. And some of the names that are always good to see in the Artist Alley, big fan of Jimmy Purcell from Ben Better Comic. He's always a great dude to hang out and about there. Let's see, the Accidental Aliens crew here in San Diego. So that's Andrea Duckleth, Scott Lost, Emily Rocha, to name a few, Tristan Whitehurst. Like, those guys they make great independent comics. Other artists you see in the Artist Alley, it's like this. Like, I mean, we had actually last year we had set up Steve Rude in the Artist Alley, and he actually had a great time with his fellow artists. And so it's like the artists there were just enamored to be around with this heavy hitter who is just creating live art on site. And it's other cool people that you might see around, like Lee Cozy, who is an artist for Lucasfilm. He's actually done a lot of work on the new Star Wars trilogy and whatnot, and worked personally with George Lucas. So those are some of the great artists that you should look forward to seeing in the Artist Alley this way. And we'll be having a full list up soon. And so it's, as we're 2 months away from the show to the day, right now it's like me just sending out those emails to the creators, making sure they're okay with the guest list. And once everything is set in stone, then we can go online, start posting everything out, and get people excited about the exact programming rather than just, the guests.
Well, that was going to be the next question as well, about the timetable between now and the show. When can people start expecting to see announcements about programming, about Artist Alley, about the guest lists, and the updating of the site? When can we start to see some more stuff coming from the announcements from Comic Fest?
You'll see it no later than late January, because the whole thing is like there's always a scramble like with the show to do some stuff in, and those last minute guests, they like, I mean, I love them, but it's like, oh yeah, I'm sure we can squeeze you in for programming. Oh, you can't make it that day. Oh, this person can't make it this day. Oh, this person can't make it that day. Hold on. It's like, and so just putting the pieces in the puzzle to make sure that the programming is set is like perfect. When you do 150 programs, 6 running simultaneously every hour, it's kind of tricky. So you can imagine what Comic-Con has to do with 11 billion programs going every hour. So they have my utmost respect, and it's just like 2 people on our side doing it and putting it together. But right now it's just making sure it's with the guests. And so it's like we have our fanboy wishes to make sure that each guest is properly represented. It's like sometimes it's like we don't want to have like, invite a guest and have them only be on like, 1 or 2 panels. We want to make use of these people. We want them to talk. But of course, we do respect their wishes. So if they only do want to be on one program, if they don't want to be on any at all, it's like we're happy to cultivate the experience.
Well, the good news is you've got Liam Sharp, who will show up at the opening of an envelope so long as you smile sweetly and offer him a beer. The guy is a god, and he's a lot of fun to hang around with. So he's great.
Knock back a Stone Delicious IPA with at San Diego Comic I've done in the past.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and well, I mean, all of them. The guest list is just stellar. Really looking forward to seeing what comes out of it, and looking forward to seeing how the show really comes together over the course of the next 2 months. How are tickets selling? How's things going on that front? And where can people go to buy their tickets?
Well, you can go to buy your tickets at sdcomicfest.org and check out the tickets page. There's a wonderful link there that shows about all the amenities that come with it. There's the full 4-day price, the full 4-day ticket, which is $50, and so that allows you to get into our Thursday event, which is just an exclusive party where you get to hang out with all the guests and all that. So think of it as a preview night, but it's a little more than 3 hours. So it's like if you want to have these guys, all these great creators all to yourself at the private party, it's that's only exclusive with the 4-day pass. Otherwise, single day tickets for if you're in high school, it's like we cut the price of the 4-day badge to $25. Children under 12 are free per day. 1-day tickets for adults are $25, and then we on Sunday we cut the price out of the tickets down to $15 for adults and $7.50 for active military, high school, and students. And so yeah, it's like you'd have to try really hard not to get a discount here. So it's like we kind of throw discounts for everything. So bring the kids. It's a very kid-friendly event. And of course, if you're active military, we support you. Come on board. It's like, so you get that discount too.
Yeah. I mean, it's when you're just reeling off those numbers and I'm going, okay, that's 30 quid. That's nothing. For a weekend pass, that's nothing. A tenner a day. It's the value for money is just stunning. I'm absolutely, I mean, super catchy.
Yeah,
there you go.
I've seen conventions do $50 for a 1-day. I'm like, we do a $50 for a 4-day, dude. It's just like don't try to rob these people blind. Give them an experience they want to go to and they can afford.
Yeah. There you go. These prices are phenomenal. That's super catchy. And yeah, it's just amazing. This is where he starts blushing and everything. I'm really looking forward to it, Matt. I'm just really looking forward to seeing what comes out of Comic Fest. Every year, it's a joy to see the footage and also the photos coming out of the con. So really looking forward to seeing what happens in 2 months' time. It's great. We'll actually leave the convention alone for a little while because I just want to have a chat with you. And just talk to you because I haven't spoken to you for ages. It's always good to have a chat, and it's great to see that you're keeping up with your comics because it's the one thing that I'm absolutely struggling with at the moment. Obviously,
I finished my single issue stack, and I was like, I did it. I finally did it. What am I going to do now? It's like I just was like plowing through. I actually I took a step back from things. After work, I would be like, am I going to go out to the store and promote Comic Fest? It's like, no, let me actually just sit down and read. So I don't go insane.
Okay. What books? What books are you looking forward to this year? Do you get previews? Do you look to the upcoming titles?
I don't look through previews, but I always stay in tune with everything. Of course, I go online, I check what's coming out, I do all this cool stuff because it seems like, here's an announcement. It's like, you're announcing what? Oh, Donny Cates like Thor. It's like, and then like 2 seconds later, it shows up in your hand. So it's like, I try not to. stuff. Yeah, there's the Marvel Legends Doc Ock. That one's up there. So, like, I mean, that's hardly the extent of my collection. Hold on, let me show you some of my other toys over here. I've got a full wall there. I've got more in my room. But okay, speaking of which, what books am I really loving? My favorite comic right now is actually.
Let's put it this way. I mean, I've just scrapped all the Star Wars books because I was just spending too much money on all these various titles from the Marvel Star Wars books. And there's a whole bunch of runs that I've been reading that have now come to a close. I need some new titles. Come on, Matt, tell me.
So, my favorite book for a while was Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer and Ryan Ottley. It's like I had my differences with Spider-Man over the past decade. As you can tell, I was a very big fan of Straczynski's Spider-Man run, and I wasn't really so thrilled about adjustments that came afterwards, and I kind of found my way away from Spider-Man. But when Nick Spencer came on board with Ryan Ottley, it's like he really brought things back into the fray, and it was absolutely wonderful, and I absolutely loved what he's doing with the Spider-Man book. And it was my favorite book, reigning at #1 for a long while, and I loved it. But there's one book that just jumped into the fray and actually became the contender for #1. The #1 favorite book I'm loving right now is Berserker Unbound by Jeff Lemire and Mike Deodato. So the plot of that, if you're not reading it, is, a couple months back, Marvel overtook the Conan the Barbarian license from Dark Horse. So Dark Horse is left without a Conan. So they're like, whatever, let's make a new Conan. And it's a big, burly sword and sorcerer guy who gets transported by a wizard into modern-day New York City and befriends a homeless guy. And they go on these adventures together, and it's really, really good. I love it. It's 4 issues deep, and it's become my favorite book now. It just wrapped up its first arc, and it's coming out as a hardcover, and it's like, I cannot wait to see what happens to the Berserker next. Other books I'm really been enjoying, let's see, Immortal Hulk has been absolutely phenomenal. I've been really digging Immortal Hulk. I've been loving the Donny Cates Venom stuff. It's like I kind of got hooked back into it when I was curious about Donny Cates. Everyone keeps talking about this guy as a writer, so I thought I'd pick up Silver Surfer Black, which was awesome. And at the end of it, into the first issue, it's like, who is this Null guy? And I look back on him, and it's like, oh, there's a symbiote god. And of course, as a 90s Spider-Man fanboy, you can tell by the shelf, I'm a big fan of, like, I've got a Venom shelf, I've got a Carnage shelf, I got like a lot of stuff for my figures. And it's like, I hadn't done symbiote stuff in like 15 years, but it's like, okay, let me learn about this guy. And everyone says, read the Donny Cates Venom. And I read that. I'm like, okay, that was legit. And then they got into Absolute Carnage. I'm like, okay, that was really cool too. And now I'm really enjoying that stuff along the way. The symbiote stuff has been very good. What other junk have I been liking? Joe Hill has a new imprint at DC, Hill House Comics, and he has a one called Basket Full of Heads, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. It's got a great sense of humor to it, despite being a horror book, and is actually very reminiscent of DC comics, DC horror comics from the 70s. And so I'm really loving that. And what else have I been loving? About to plow through the 3rd volume of Headlopper by Andrew McLean. This guy is phenomenal if you haven't read his work. Other stuff that I've been loving. Superman Smashes the Klan. I think that's the best book DC has done in a decade. That one was so much fun.
I'll go along with that. I mean, you were talking about Joe Hill. I'd also talk about Dying is Easy. Is it Dying is Easy? Is that the name of it? The one which she's Dying is Easy with which she's done with Martin Simmons. That's very, very nice indeed. And Donny Cates, I mean, I've been a fan of his for a while, and yeah, everything that he's been touching so far has just been magic so far. So yeah, it's very good. You've also got yourself Into the Blue Mister. Saying the new Hellblazer by Si Spurrier, Aaron Campbell is very good but very dark. But that's
and I'll check it out at some point. But it's just trying to keep up on all the issues that I do keep going through. It's like I've also been loving Middle West by Scotty Young. Farmhand by Rob Guillory is also amazing. That's been wonderful, very much in the spirit of Chew. And I had
Undiscovered Country yet?
What's that?
Undiscovered Country yet?
Haven't read it.
There we go. Okay, there's my recommendation. It's the Charles Soule Scott Snyder book. Very, very good. Very, very good. But there we go. Excellent. And also you got Michael P as well. I mean, he was just backing up with the new Thought is so
I
good.
haven't read it yet. I've got it, but I haven't read it.
It's right there. It's ready. And we'll tell you what, we'll let him get off and we'll let him enjoy the rest of his comics and enjoy the rest of his day as well. Matt, it's been a pleasure, Squire. Thank you so much indeed for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy that I didn't have the wildest night of my life before coming out here at this book. And that it's like I'm actually slept and well rested, but didn't get my coffee. But I guess I'll live.
Well, you know what? It's always fun to have you on, even when you're slightly frazzled as well. So you know, we take you any way we like you. So
Okay.
we have no problem. So one last time, San Diego Comic Fest, 2 months time. Give us a full skin again, dates and best places for people to find out full announcements.
Okay, so just follow the San Diego Comic Fest Facebook page for all the dumb jokes, guest announcements, that stuff there. Also follow us on Twitter at SD Comic Fest or Instagram at SD Comic Fest. If you want to check out the guest list, go to www.sdcomicfest.org. Go check things out there. Go see things through. So you'll be hearing those guest announcements too. And if you want to find me, just find me at Matt Dunford at Facebook, or at Matt Dunford on Twitter. Actually, I'll be able to talk to you after Wednesday on Facebook, but you can hit me on Instagram or Twitter right now. But anyway, looking forward to seeing with you. It's like, and thanks so much. It's like, I look forward to you. And I'll thank everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this interview and your great questions. I really do appreciate it.
Well, Matt, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And like I say, I'm good. Well, we're going to do our best to bring all the updates as well, and we'll post them to the Convention Collective. But Matt will hopefully be there and to speak to Dan Berry. Dan, hopefully, will get an interview with Matt at some point, because we never actually get the chance to speak to you while you're in the throes of it, because you're always kind of like...
I'm a busy guy. There's a lot of...
You're a busy guy. We will try and pin you down for a couple of minutes at least. We're also going to do our best to bring as much as we can from the show. We have done in previous years. Hopefully, we can continue that, and we'll bring some more panel stuff from Comic Fest this year. You've seen and you've heard about the guests that are going to be appearing at this year's show. You know it's going to be well worth checking out when we get those that footage up. Fingers crossed, Dan will be able to bring that to us. Matt, it's been a pleasure, sir.
Always a pleasure. I'm happy to be here, happy to talk comics, and look forward to seeing you all at San Diego Comic Fest.
I will see you. Well, hopefully I'll see you in San Diego in July, mate. Let's get out there, man. Let's get out there. Because if anything, look, people, if you do get the chance to befriend Matt Dunford, go and meet up with him when you have no idea about what to do in San Diego, because the man knows that city like the back of his hand, and he will find you the best and greatest places to go, because he's yeah. Once it's washed, it's fantastic.
Yes.
So there you go. Yeah. Matt, take care. Look after yourself and have a great Sunday, mate.
All right. See you soon, Leighton.
Take care. And there you go, Matt Dunford from San Diego Comic Fest. Once again, do check out that site. Do check out the show, because it really is a highlight of the convention circuit, because it is such a warm, intimate, friendly, upbeat. It's so bright. I mean, I don't know if it's just the San Diego vibe and the California vibe, but it really is it feels like such a bright show. And that's what's so great about it. So there we go. And that's been our show. Thank you very much indeed. Once again, I mean, I can't really talk about much else about anything, because my brain is still fried from Christmas. We are lining up guests between now and July. We are going to do our best to get some of those guests that we were missing from the back end of last year, try and get them back onto some way of getting them onto the show. Really want to talk to Jim Fry, the con guy. Want to get him on. Want to try and get Alyssa back on at some point, because it'd be great to see her again as we get closer to San Diego. Want to try and line up some more from San Diego Comic Con itself. I want to try and get some more bodies on from that show. And also, we want to cover all the conventions as we go between now and July. There's my calendar is starting to fill up nicely. I think the next convention for me is the beginning of February. I am going to be going to OK True Believers, which is in Cheltenham, which is a very similar show to San Diego Comic Fest. It's very intimate and it has a great, well-curated guest list. If you want to find out more, if you go to OKTrueBelievers.com. I think they're starting to put their guest list together. But that show is a one-day show. It's on the first Saturday of February, and I'm going to do my best to attend that particular show. So there you go. Thank you very much indeed. I hope you've enjoyed it. Once again, if you would like to support the Hangouts, the best way to do that is, of course, to head to the notification bell at the bottom if you're watching this on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. It really does help with putting out the words and letting more people know that we're there. Comment. Let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know. I know that you've been commenting on the Q&A, but jump in on the comments on the actual video itself. Let us know what we've done wrong and how we can improve the show, or what you've thought of the show. Also, do spread the videos, share it as much as you can, and yeah, we'll do our best to spread as much word as we can. I did say last year that I wanted to do the Sunday surgery. That is going to start in a couple of weeks' time. And basically, each and every week for about 10 minutes, we're going to cover a topic of San Diego Comic-Con. A element of the show. We're going to get into one or two graphics on screen. We're going to talk you through some of the intricacies of the big show, so you can get to San Diego in July well informed, with all the best information that we think that we can bring you. That's the Sunday surgery, and fingers crossed we'll have that in about 2 weeks' time. Right, but that's us. Thank you very much indeed for your company this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you're watching. Back again next Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. We'll be announcing our special guest for that hopefully on Tuesday, once they confirm. But hopefully we'll start rolling out our guest list over the course of the next couple of days. What else have we got? Oh, yes, if you'd like to support us, if you could also maybe throw some shekels into the pot. We do have a Patreon page. Do head to patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC. We're going to be doing our best to provide some kind of content on there to make it worthwhile, but basically the pennies go into this and into hosting of the website and doing what we can with that. Tomorrow we'll be posting our looking forward to 2020, where we got all the contributors to the convention collective to come up with a small list of the things that they're looking forward to for the next 12 months. I came up with a one or two as well, and that's in there as well. But Dan's is in there. We've got all sorts of people who've put their little contribution to that. That goes live tomorrow. Do take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And for myself, Leonard, I hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll see you again next Sunday for another Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.